The sixth generation of consoles marked a pivotal moment in gaming, a time where gaming felt truly special. This era was defined by the PlayStation 2, Xbox, Gamecube, and Dreamcast. It brought a revolution in how we experience video games, and I want to bring you a little bit back through my experience during this generation of gaming and how it's still impacting modern day gamers of today. But before I even talk about that, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I will highly appreciate it. As we advance with technology, you can't happen but to appreciate things from the past, whether it's your retro consoles / games, DVDs, classic TV shows, or even movies. And growing up as a 90s kid, when I go back and play these retro games that I played growing up, I can't help but to appreciate them way more. I started my video game journey as a kid. My first console that I ever laid my fingers on was the Sega Genesis. Mind you, I have an older brother, so he was the one who was buying all the consoles and games at the time. We had other consoles such as the NES and SNES, Sega Saturn, but I remember clearly and vividly enjoying the Sega Genesis the most. I played games like Streets of Rage, Mortal Kombat 2, Super Street Fighter 2, Sonic the Hedgehog, but I was too young to remember much things from that part of my childhood. But what I can remember vividly was the sixth generation of consoles. I mean, we talking GBA, Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, not the Gamecube though, because I never grew up owning one. I wasn't really a Nintendo kid, unless it was their handheld stuff. Dreamcast was probably one of my favorite consoles of all time. Up until that day where Sega announced that they would no longer be making consoles and would only be distributing their own games on other platforms. It was devastating news for Sega fans like myself, and without Sega on the console market, it's like, what's next on the line for the best console in the market? What platform is there to pick up from the lost pieces from the Dreamcast and continue its legacy? Well, that was the Xbox. So imagine this, it's 2001, you're a kid, it's around Christmas time in NYC, and lo and behold, your oldest brother tells you to buy an Xbox. So you go to Toys R Us in Times Square, which is the coolest beyond coolest looking Toys R Us ever, with your dad, and he asks, what do you want for Christmas? And we buy an Xbox, with a game of course, and that game was Dead or Alive 3, which we still own today by the way. We go home, start up the console, and my gosh, the first thing we noticed about the console was the graphics. The graphics. Man, those graphics, yo, at the time, like looking at those graphics, it was just unbelievable. Like we was looking at it looked like we was looking at a movie, a real life movie or something. It was just crazy to look at. Like we couldn't believe our eyes. The graphics for this machine called Xbox was out of this world, and comparing it to the Nintendo GameCube and PS2, it was just not even an option. And I think the next game we picked up after Dead or Alive 3 was Tony Hawk 2X, which I have a story of its own since on the Xbox you can add a custom soundtrack. So man, I was having a blast with that game using my own music to play through the game. Tony Hawk 2X was probably that long lost Tony Hawk game that people didn't even know existed. As an Xbox owner, the one thing that we never got to experience was Xbox Live. Not until the Xbox 360 days at least. But you guys know that there's this one franchise that made Xbox a juggernaut of console. It made Xbox what it is today. And that one game was Halo 2. Halo 2 was one of their best exclusives on Xbox. If you didn't own Halo 2 as an Xbox owner, you were really missing out. I mean, this game was talked about everywhere throughout gaming magazines, G4 TV, tens across the scoreboards on every gaming website. I had friends from school that played it, and unfortunately we never got to experience that game on Xbox Live. But it's fine though, even though we didn't have Xbox Live, what me and my brother did was we played local co-op through story, and then we played versus split screen. Me and my brother would take this shit serious. I mean serious, like me and him would really go at it. Like the competition would be crazy for this game. We would play on the largest map, that being Headlong. It would even get as serious as he would bring friends over and he would make sure he beats everyone including me. But Halo 2 was briefly one of my favorite shooters at the time, aside from Time Splitters 2, and I'm glad I got to play the online later when I got Xbox 360 through backwards compatibility, because Halo was literally one of the first rated M shooting games that we brought. As the years progressed, Xbox was an amazing console. I mean, we had Halo, right? Exclusive Sega titles like Jet Set Radio Future, Sega GT, and of course, one of the greatest games of all time. Shenmue 2. But man, I can talk about my love for Shenmue in another video. But was this really enough to really love the console? I was looking at the titles that was releasing on PlayStation 2 compared to the Xbox. I was thinking like, man, why aren't these games coming out on Xbox? I started to feel spite against the PlayStation 2 because they had games like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Tekken, Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Like, it came to the point when I went to school and no one owned an Xbox. Everyone owned a PlayStation 2 or Gamecube. And I felt like, damn, is Xbox just trash? Where's the anime games? Where's the wrestling games? It's like Xbox was left behind with so many titles, but also had a lot of unique exclusives that highlighted the power of the Xbox console. Then, about 2006 is when we finally bought a PlayStation 2 Slim. This is where my gaming nostalgia hits almost at its peak. Playing 2-player fighting games with your middle brother, going crazy with the analog sticks during beam clashes in Tenkaichi, finally being able to play the Tekken franchise again because Tekken 3 was the first fighting game that I've purchased, and Tekken 5 was my favorite fighting game at the time, brawling out on all these good old wrestling games and fighting for championships. That wasn't even all. I didn't even talk about my single player experience with the PlayStation 2. I can finally play and own Kingdom Hearts, which I swear everyone owned that game that was my age. And by 2006, Kingdom Hearts 2 was already released, so I was behind. I only owned Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories on the GBA, but that was nothing compared to actually playing Kingdom Hearts on the console. Kingdom Hearts was like a kid's fever dream. You can't tell me that no kid during that time did not own or love Kingdom Hearts. It's Final Fantasy with Disney characters, especially with the beautiful commercial that aired on TV. I mean, that shit gave me chills. It still gives me chills to this day. It made me want to beg my parents to buy the game for me, and I unfortunately never got to own Kingdom Hearts 2 because by that time I wanted to buy it, but we owned an Xbox 360 and I was just focusing on playing the 360 during that time. Owning a PlayStation 2 was also the first time I was introduced to the Yakuza series. It was the spiritual successor to Shenmue. At the time, everyone was calling it the Japanese GTA, which I really didn't understand because Yakuza was something of its own. It didn't have guns or cars that you can jack, none of that. Instead, it had an amazing story and memorable characters that are loved and beloved to this day. The original Yakuza was only dubbed, so it had its moments where I would question the dub. I mean, they were cursing on like every single sentence of every single cutscene, and for us to own a game like that with that much cursing at the time, where we would get in trouble for even saying the slightest curse word at home, it was hard to play without the door being shut closed. The PlayStation 2's game library was just unbeatable. I mean, even now in 2024, people are still feeling nostalgic about the games that were released on the PlayStation 2. People are still begging for certain PS2 titles to be ported onto the PlayStation Plus Essentials, but there was something for everybody on the PlayStation 2. If you like anime, boom, here's at least 20 titles for you that revolve around anime. If you like GTA and wanted to play something similar to GTA, here's True Crime, here's Godfather, here's Scarface. Like, there was something for everybody. Fighting games, Virtua Fighter 4, Tekken, Soul Calibur. There wasn't a range of games for everyone. And this doesn't even go for the PS2 only. This goes for the whole 6th generation of consoles. Hell, even the 7th generation of consoles, which was the 360 and PS3. These generations were at the time when gaming was fun, and you didn't have to worry about owning an incomplete game that cost you $70. Before or during this generation, if you weren't so sure about a title, you can just rent the damn game at Blockbuster, or buy a demo disc from a magazine that included the demo of the game that you wanted to try out. Like, there were a lot of possibilities for you, and even so, I've played my range of bad titles during this time and still happen to enjoy them, because at this time, games were just made to be enjoyable and just for players to have fun. It's crazy to think that in 2024, people are still going back and reconnecting their wires and controllers for their retro consoles and playing past games through emulators, and hearing people collecting physical titles for older consoles. I mean, even myself, I started to try to build up my PlayStation 2 physical library again, by going on a hunt for games that I've never owned as a kid, that I've always wanted to own, and now I can just play them on my CRT TV. You just can't beat that feeling of nostalgia when it comes to gaming, and I do still feel like games were more enjoyable back then, or maybe I'm just getting older and grew up during a time when the gaming market was treated and handled better. Well, that about wraps it up. Please let me know in the comments, what are some of your most memorable gaming moments during the 6th generation of consoles? And remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I will highly appreciate it. My name is Matic, and I'll see you guys in the next video.